Hi, welcome back to Sparks of Joy Studio. This is Natalie, and in today's video, I am playing Thrift Switch Flip with Sammie from Unicorn Dust Designs. We have traded a variety of items that we have thrifted, and now we will be upcycling each other's stash. Let's get started. For our first project, I have this wall pocket that I assume Sammie got for $1.50 at one of her local thrift stores, and I'm going to start by painting it in Apothecary by DIY. I do want to mention that almost all, if not all products I'm using today in today's video are available on Sammie's website, unicorndustdesigns.com. I give this piece 2 thin coats of Apothecary, let it dry, seal it up, and now I'm going to be using some weathered wood by DIY, and I'm going to be painting it on, but then spritzing it with some water and almost creating more of a washed effect to allow that Apothecary to come through from behind. Once that was dry, I sealed it with some clear wax, and I am using this makeup brush, which is a technique that I got from Kendra at Late Night Creations. I will say it's my first time using this type of brush to seal the wax, and I really, really enjoyed using it. It went on a lot more evenly, and it was a really great tool. So thank you, Kendra. I'm going to go ahead and link the Amazon link for her store to this so that you guys can pick it up if you want to use this method. Definitely have to give her credit for this one. Once I've covered the entire pocket with this clear wax, I'm going to take a rag, and I'm actually going to be very heavy-handed with this and wipe back not only the clear wax, but also some of the weathered wood paint to bring out the Apothecary to make it look very distressed. Um, and I ended up really loving this effect. I've never done this before. It was just something random I tried, and I really loved how it looked. You let me know what you think when you see this final reveal. For my next project, I'll be upcycling this unique plastic wall teapot. And it has a very cool kind of textured effect to it, but I actually want to just change that up, mainly because this is what we do when we DIY, right? So I'm going to be taking the Juliet mold, and I'm going to be pouring it and allowing it to set, but not allowing it to fully harden before I pull it out of the mold. You can see here that this casting is still very, very pliable, and there are even sections where it kind of even starts coming apart. It's very gummy, and any parts that don't come up with the piece, because it's a very large casting, I just let be. I just let it be. I pull off any strings and I move forward. I'm going to lay that down on top of the teapot and find the best way to cover the majority of the front of the pot and pull off or cut off any excess that does not fit onto the front of this pot. Now I'm going to take some Tight Bond Quick and Thick, and I am going to smooth it over the entire back of this casting and then laying it back down right where I had it before and gluing it onto the teapot. Once I place it where I want it to go on the pot, I am going to have to use some painter's tape to kind of hold it down and make sure it adheres in that same curved way that we want it to so that it covers as much of that front as we can. Once I have everything taped down and very secure, I just let it be, and I'm going to let it dry overnight before I work with this project again. Once everything was dry, I pulled out all that tape, and now I'm going to be using one of the cottage colors by DIY called Juniper, and I'm going to be putting on, I end up painting, I believe, 2.5 coats. It does take a few coats, but I will say this paint is extremely durable. Once it is dry, it is very difficult to scratch or damage the paint in any way. So it is a wonderful all-in-one paint. It's just very different than some other all-in-one paints that I've used. Once I had that fully covered and dry, I came back in with DIY white wax, and I am going to be covering the entire piece with that white wax. Because I used that cottage color and because it's an all-in-one paint, I did not have to use a clear wax first. I was able to go straight in with that white wax. So once I cover the entire piece and let it sit for a bit, I will be wiping back the excess. Next, I have this gorgeous white basket. I absolutely love that it has just the one handle in the middle. I don't find them very often like this in my thrift stores, so this was very exciting for me. I am going to be painting the entire basket in Farm Fresh by DIY. Now, I will say I had so many ideas for this piece. I wanted to try to decoupage the basket. I tried it, didn't work. I didn't even show you guys because it was just a mess. I thought about distressing it. I thought about layering a stamp on top, but I couldn't make up my mind. So what I decided to do was once I painted this basket, I cleared it with some Rust-Oleum matte clear spray paint, and I am just going to show you how I styled it. And for now, that's how I'm leaving it because it is just gorgeous and I absolutely love this color. And maybe in the future, I will upcycle it or change it up a little bit more. But for now, that's what I'm going to do with this basket. I do decide to create a little tag to put on the basket, which again can be easily removed. I am using the Junk Journal master board, which I also got off Sammie's website. And I want to get that little piece at the bottom, which I feel has that farm fresh color. It really coordinates with the farm fresh that is painted on the basket. I'm going to use some liquid patina and cover the entire tag, which I will say I previously painted in White Swan by DIY. And then I will be placing this tissue paper or this decoupage paper on top. And I do not use any water on this one. I have used, like I've spritzed my papers with some water in other projects where you have a larger piece of decoupage paper you're trying to put on. But because this is so small, it's really not needed. So I go ahead and lay it on, smooth it out, and then I add another layer of liquid patina on top to seal it, let it dry, and then very lightly sand vertically down the sides to get any excess paper off of the tag. For this next project, Sammie had given me this super duper tiny little brass piece. I thought about putting like a bird in there. I was trying to figure it out. Honestly, I really didn't want to mess with it because it's so adorable and I really liked the style and age that it had. So I'm just going to take a bit of hot glue and hot glue these faux florals into the center of this piece and then style it with some of my other items. I also love pieces like this for when I'm staging items so that if you want to give it some added character, make it look more beautiful in a picture. It sells better that way. A piece like this is absolutely perfect. Okay, our final project today is probably the most complicated one that I did. I got this piece from Sammie. Is this a juicer? I honestly don't know what this is, but it had some blades. They're not super thick blades, but there was a sharper edge on the sides, and I want to make sure I covered that up. So I'm going to take this paper clay that I found at Michael's, and it is so light and airy. I wanted to see how it would work on this piece. I'm rolling it into almost like snake, kind of snake shapes that I'm going to be wrapping around this piece to cover up those blades and give some texture to this. I guess what I plan to make it into is a flower pot. Here's what it looks like after drying for 3 days. I decided to try out mixing a custom blend of a few different colors of DIY paint to create this brown, but I was not a fan of how it looked. So I set it aside to dry and I brought out some air dry clay. This is IOD's air dry clay. Sammie does also have this available on her website. I rolled it out into a very, very thin layer. And what I decided to do, and I'm sorry it's out of frame. Oh, there we go. I fixed it. I decided to wrap it around the entire pot to create I guess it's a smoother texture, but it's still going to have some of that more handmade, vintagey look to it. I'm gluing that on with some Type Bond Quick and Thick, and then I am wrapping any excess around the rim at the top and then towards the base of the pot. Now I'm taking Kindest Regards IOD stamp and I am going to be rolling my pot across this stamp to get that text kind of engraved into that clay. The clay, I did this immediately. I didn't let the clay dry at all or anything like that. Now, Sammie had also given me this cute silver candlestick that I originally painted in Apothecary, distressed it back a little bit, and then had sealed it. I decided to marry these two pieces. So I'm taking some Gorilla Glue and I am going to be covering the rim right where I'm going to be gluing on the candlestick. I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes and then I'm going to put some added pressure onto it with some, I just used some hardcover books. I let that dry overnight and then painted the entire piece with White Swan, let it dry, sealed it, and now I'm taking some Antiquing Glaze by Fusion. This is actually the only thing that I used today that was not on Sammie's website. I am going to cover the entire piece, getting right into where that engraved, that lettering is on the top, and then wiping back some of the excess. Here's a look at our finished project. This was the hardest of all the flips, but my favorite one today. Let me know what you think. And don't forget, I'm only the opener tonight. Please head on over to Sammie's channel at Unicorn Dust Designs and check out what she's done with the items I thrifted for her. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.